Hi, I'm Susie Larson, and you are watching Living Wellness Live.
We have this exciting opportunity to teach people about health and wellness, little tips and tricks to reach people that we may never meet.
There's so much information out there, but how can we translate it into something that people will actually end up doing?
The goal is to go deep and to encourage them or inspire them on some part of their health and wellness journey.
We're personal trainers, but we're pairing faith into the mix. A practical application of abundant life is to nourish your entire body, not just physically, but also mentally and spiritually.
Christina is amazing. I think we complement each other really well because she's the hilarious one and I'm the, I'm not sure what I am.
Ashley is an inspiration. She has inspired me ever since I left Germany and came to America to pursue health and wellness in a different way.
There is a need to connect with one another, and there's a need to connect all the pieces of nutrition, fitness, and faith. And then we start to see long-term lasting change.
This is not about eating a little bit more kale every day. We're inviting you to allow God to change your heart together with us.
Thank you. Welcome to Living Wellness Live, episode number 5. We are so excited to have you here. My name is Ashley Darkenwald.
And I am Ashley Darkenwald.
No, you're not Ashley Darkenwald.
Just make sure people are paying attention. And I am Christina Zakowski.
You're a little taller than Ashley Darkenwald. I have to get up on one of those chairs if you're going to be Ashley Darkenwald. Yes. Well, we are excited for our show this evening. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest. She's shrinking. That's good. No, just stay down there.
Okay.
Then, James will be happy because we're at the same height finally. He's always telling us, Ashley needs to raise, Christina needs to lower. Well, let me tell you about our guests. We have got, coming up, Kelsey Gregalko and Tim Demery with Faith rx'd. They're going to be showing us some functional fitness exercises. And then in the kitchen, we have got Brandy Terrio and her chefs with Tipsy Chicken in Elk River. And they are going to be making for us some delicious grilled chicken wraps and some fresh squeezed juice.
And for our interview, you are going to meet in the flesh radio host Susie Larson, and we are going to be talking about 2 of her infinite number books, Fully Alive and In Over Your Head. So I'm really super thrilled for this opportunity. We've been talking about it now for I don't know how many months. Like, we can't wait to get started, and Ashley was so excited. Ashley? What's happening?
Well, when you were talking, I was just thinking about all these new driverless vehicles, and you know, the ones that drive themselves, and it's going to completely make rearview mirrors extinct. Yeah. Like, what's going to happen to the rearview mirrors? They're just going to go away, and it just kind of bummed me out, actually.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, let me see if I can maybe cheer you up with some good news.
You can try.
Okay, you know how psychology is a big topic for us here, and so it turns out that all our actions come down to 2 different emotions. Fear, and I'll let you guess the other one.
Sadness.
So close, Ashley. It's love. Fear and love.
So not so close.
Trying to make you feel better.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Fear, however, is that state of fight or flight. And it's super helpful to have this rush of cortisol through your body when a tiger chases you, or when you have to, practical application here, jump out of the way of a car that's about to hit you or something like that. But many of us are leading our lives in a state of constant anxiety, so constant bracing us for something bad to happen. And so that brings a lot of cortisol into our system, which is linked to getting sick, and not being able to recover well when we are getting very sick. So this is somehow
sounds like really bad news.
Yes, I'm getting there. So the good news is that just as powerful as fear is, love is more powerful. in a state of love, you are not getting all the diseases that are going around, the bugs and whatnot. And when you are sick, you recover faster. And your life quality is just so much better. All you need is love, Ashley.
All I need is love.
Yes,
I got it.
we don't have the rights for that one.
Okay,
Cut it out.
shoot. Cut that out of the video.
That never happened.
Actually, I am feeling better about that good news. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I could, make that be practical in my life. So when I have the choice to choose between love and fear, I can choose love, and it'll be good for me. Okay, so what's wrong with you now?
I was just thinking about the zebra babies, and when they're mommies, they're those striped ones. What they get dirty, then babies don't recognize the mommies anymore.
Zebra babies. During Living Wellness Live.
Victoria,
Okay, all right. I can see this is making you sad.
A little bit.
All right, maybe I can share some good news and cheer you up?
Let's try that.
Okay, well, I've been reading this book by Hattie Britz. Yeah, I read. I know, in my spare time. It's called Growing Kids with Character. And the author likens raising children to taking care of plants. So different plants need different care in order to grow well, right? And our kids are the same way. So when we learn the personalities of our children, it actually helps us parent them better. It takes some of the stress out of parenting and allows us to work in their natural grain of how they were created. And if you don't have kids, the same applies for adults. When we learn the personalities of those around us, we can just be better friends, better sisters and brothers, and better coworkers. So the good news is, take the time to learn the personalities of those around you, and you'll be better for it.
Wow, you can respond better to them. Whoa, I bet it works for zebras, too.
Yeah, we can definitely try that psychology on the zebras.
I am so much better now.
Good. I'm glad.
Thanks for the talk, Ashley.
Always here to make you feel better.
Thank you. Well, I feel ready now to do some exercising.
Good.
How about we are going to talk a little bit about Kelsey.
Kelsey is our first guest, coming up with Tim Demery. So are you going to tell us a little bit about her?
I sure will.
Good.
She's got a long bio, but she is young. Kelsey currently moonlights, which I have been told means she works at night, as a CrossFit coach at Affect Us Athletics in St. Michael, when she is not working her full-time job and being a wife and mom. Her passion for CrossFit began about 5 years ago when she was looking for a way to get back in shape and fell in love with the variety of workouts and the amazing community. Since then, Kelsey has begun coaching for CrossFit and became the director of the local Faith rx'd chapter, which combines faith and fitness in creating that one-of-a-kind community for any fitness level and any faith. Please help me welcome Kelsey Gregalko. Hi, Kelsey.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely.
So, I would like to hear from you. What happened for you personally? How did you discover the connection between faith and fitness?
I think it's a great question, and I'm glad that you asked. So I think, we can all probably think of a time in our lives where we were going through something, and, we look for something, kind of that output. For me, it was exercise at the moment, and being able to, given the ability that I have, I wanted a way to share it with other people. So kind of it came together with coaching as well, but I would say when it comes to my faith and fitness being intertwined, I think I started to prioritize my workout or like my fitness and kind of put that on a pedestal, if that makes sense. And so for me, I really needed a way to be able to glorify God and be able to also make myself feel good. And a way that I did that was through just kind of finding out about Faith RX and being able to say, I think this is something that our community needs, and really wanted to bring the faith and fitness together. So that's kind of how it started for us, and then we've taken it to a few different levels. But our chapter events are something where we invite everyone to come, whatever your fitness level is, whatever your faith level is, just to combine the two together.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So if I came to a class, what could I kind of brace myself for?
Well, the beauty of it is, so we meet every second and fourth Sunday at Affect Us Athletics in St. Michael. And the beauty of it is we can do any of the workouts, and we're going to kind of demo some of it for you guys today, but any of those workouts are going to be something that anybody can do at any level. Okay. So we start with a little bit of fellowship, which is, again, the community aspect, and it's something that I've probably fallen in love with more than anything else. And then we get into kind of a partner-style workout, because, again, part of the community, we want people to feel engaged and to feel connected. So we do a partner workout together, and then we end with a little bit of a devotional to kind of put you on the right path into starting your week.
Okay, so when you say partner exercise, you mean like you lift the partner up more than just... Like
no, it's more of a team, like you work and I'm going to work, and then I'll rest and watch you work out for part of it.
All right, I can do that, yes. So, what do you have for us today?
So I have kind of an example and a perfect way for you guys to do this at home as well. Kind of functional fitness, we'll say. So different movements that you probably do on a daily basis. You may not realize it, but then for you guys to do at home. And the beauty of this is we're going to put a time on it, so you can continually do this workout at different times to see how you improve and to see how your fitness improves.
Okay.
So for today's example, we're going to do 10 minutes on the clock. So set a timer for 10 minutes. And we're going to go through 3 different movements. So for part of the movements, I'll kind of demonstrate, again, based on different fitness levels. I'll have my partner Tim come on up.
Did you say we're going to work out for 10 minutes?
Well, I won't make you guys do that
Right, okay, all right. I wasn't
But
sure
we'll
I
do a
signed up
couple
for
of
it.
samples. So the workout to do at home, set your timer for 10 minutes, and we're going to break down the 3 following movements. Start with 15 air squats. So if you guys are not familiar with the air squat, I think we'll have both of you guys do this, but Tim is going to start. Lower yourself down, keep that chest up, push your knees out. Now, if you're new to the movement, or this is a perfect example, if this is something you're not comfortable with doing,
Or you're too fancy to
or
work
you're too
out.
fancy, we can have you do the same type of movement only to a chair. So again, functional, meaning we meet you where you're at, and whether you're able to do this on your own, freestanding, or you get to sit down and you have too fancy of shoes on.
They're quite heavy. They add a lot.
I bet. So start off with that 15 air squats. You're going to move then on into push-ups. So I'll have kind of Tim get down. Another great way to modify a push-up, and even do it with the chair.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So get behind the chair, get down into the position, chest down, and then push back up. You can also do this at home with a kitchen countertop, which works really well, or you can continue to work with the chair. However works best for you guys. So we'll go 10 of those push-ups, and then we're going to end with a burpee. So we're going to do 5 burpees. Burpees on a Sunday. So you'll stand position. You're going to drop down on the floor. You're going to snap your feet up to your hands, and then finish with a clap on top. Always the clap.
My modified version would be just this?
Modified version. I love the way you think, but it's not going to get you to your goals.
Okay.
So the modified version will just be to drop down. You're going to step back, step forward, and then finish the clap on top. Yay! Perfect! Yay! So again, set the clock for 10 minutes. Go through 15 air squats, 10 push-ups on a chair, however you need to modify at home, and then finish with 5 burpees. And you'll continually do that until the 10 minutes is up.
Wow. And then what do you get?
You get fit.
Fit! That's the goal. I see. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for showing us those fun exercises.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
When we come back, we are going to be meeting Tipsy Chicken in the kitchen.
Joining me in the kitchen is Andy, Brandy, and Nick. Brandy is the manager of Tipsy Chicken in Elk River, and it's delicious. I love Tipsy Chicken. I've been there several times. They have wonderful food, and let me tell you a little bit about Brandy. Brandy, she graduated from the Art Institute International in Minneapolis with an Associate's of Applied Science in Baking and Pastry. Sounds technical. Yeah, a little technical. She has an equal love for the savory side, however. Brandy won the 2017 Judge's Favorite Sweets at the Taste of Lakeville. I wish I had been a judge. Yes. She has a 5-year-old daughter, Elena, who loves to help her in the kitchen, and Brandy loves to cook at home for her family to ensure they will have well-balanced meals. Please help me welcome Brandy and the entire team of Tipsy Chicken. Well, chefs, why don't you tell us what you're cooking up today?
So today we're going to show you a little bit about our grilled lettuce chicken wraps. So we can do them either fried or grilled. So we're going to show you the grilled version because it's the healthier version. So while Andy is over there grilling 3 2-ounce chicken tenderloins made with Smart Chicken, we are going to be over here making our drinks that are made with these components right here. We have the little hopper, which is for non-alcoholic, but if you wanted an adult version, you could actually add some Froggy Bee organic vodka to it. So right now, we're just gonna go ahead and juice everything that goes into it. So as you can see, we have a full orange. We do not take the pith off, but we do take the rind off, okay, because it has oils in there that make it really bitter. We also have a green apple. You don't have to use green apples, but it is what we prefer to use at Tipsy Chicken. And then we also have a lemon, and with the lemon, you do not have to peel it at all.
You put the whole thing in there?
Put the whole thing in
And
there.
does it make it bitter?
No.
Wow.
No. The bitterness comes from the orange peel.
Okay.
And I had asked the owner, Jesse, you know, tell me a little bit more about this. And he says there's a lot of really great vitamin B in this, in all these components. He said that a lot of the nutrients also come from the pith, which is right underneath the rind or the peel.
Pith.
Yep, pith.
Pith. Okay, not pit, pith.
Yes, pith.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this on. It's not very loud, so no worries.
And when you said frog juice, you don't have frogs hiding anywhere that you're actually going to throw in that juicer, right?
Only on the bottle.
Okay, all right. Got a little concerned when she said she's making frog juice, especially with her French heritage.
Yeah.
Not sure what she's planning on putting in there.
So while I am gonna do this, they're gonna tell you a little bit about the items that go on the grilled chicken wrap.
So typically it's, for one order, it's 3 leaf lettuce, and then it's our house coleslaw, which is this broccoli shoots, carrots, cabbage, and then I think there's pea shoots in there as well.
Yep.
And then it's our house pickled onions.
That looks yummy.
How long does it take to make the pickled onions?
We pickle them hot, so I think they're ready within 2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours. And what is in the dressing that goes into?
So to marinate the coleslaw, we actually use, it's mayonnaise, and then we use some of the pickling liquid from the pickled onions, and then like a various amount of seasoning.
These are the spices, some more spices. See what we're working with up here. So Brandy, I have a burning question that I have to ask you. If you were a fruit or a vegetable, which fruit or vegetable would you be and why?
Wow, that's a really good question.
I know it's deep.
It's usually,
and I haven't prepared you for this.
No, and it's usually, what's your favorite dessert to make? I guess I would have to say a blueberry.
We haven't had that one yet. Okay, and why would you be a blueberry?
I love blueberries, you know, for the color. I know that there's really good antioxidants in there. For the flavor, you can add them to just about anything, muffins, yogurt,
Yeah.
pasta.
Yeah,
You know,
blueberries and pasta.
The uses for them is just really endless, you know, like a cold pasta or a cold salad or, you know, or anything like that. But I would definitely have to say blueberries. I can literally buy like a whole thing, go home and finish it.
Yeah.
Like in one sitting.
Sounds like my 12-year-old daughter.
Have to kind of
Like, didn't we have a whole quart of blueberries in the fridge just 2 hours ago? Gone. Just gone. Tell me about your love of cooking.
My love of cooking. I really enjoy cooking. First of all, it challenges me to always try to find something new, something different, find something that was made before and how can I change it. But I also love it because I love when somebody eats what I've made. I love the reaction. And that goes for good and bad. I've always told everybody, like, I'm good for receiving any kind of feedback, you know, because you don't learn And you can't get better if you're not willing to hear both sides.
Absolutely.
So I really enjoy, like, for instance, when I won the Taste at Lakeville, and people were putting the salted caramel pavlova onto their palate, most of them just kind of rolled their eyes up in the back of their head. So that was really rewarding for me.
Make you so happy to see that.
Yep.
That is some pretty colored juice. Can you guys see that? It's like golden, greenish.
This is when it gets really fun.
When you throw the kale in
So
there?
this is all organic. Tipsy Chicken likes to be anywhere between 75% and 95% organic. So when you come to our restaurant and you look at our menu, you'll see that everything has a percentage right next to the item on the menu, so you'll know what you're eating.
And what's the point of organic? Why is that important?
Organic is important because it's better for your body. There's no GMOs. There's no any of that odd stuff that you're really not supposed to eat, because as I understand, pesticides and things like that, because when you eat things like that, your body doesn't recognize it. So you're not getting any nutrients from it. It's really just, it doesn't know what to do with it, so instead of using it for energy, it uses it and it turns it into fat. So
that's a good reason to go organic.
You want your body to really know what you're putting in it, and then, like I said, if it doesn't recognize it, it just says, "Oh, we don't know what this is." So then it goes to not good use.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Thank you. And you're going to keep juicing, and you guys already have this started. They've done the lettuce wraps. Yeah, isn't that pretty? They've been doing magic over here while I've been talking to Brandy. So you said 3 pieces of lettuce, and that's the slaw.
Yes.
That's the slaw that's on there. And then you do the pickled onions.
So we'll the tender will go on top, and then we use the pickled onions to finish them off.
Okay, sounds good.
A little bit about the chicken that we wanted to point out while we were here today. Smart Chicken is it's 95% organic. It is humanely put down, if you will. What they do is they use pure chilled air and kind of just put it to sleep instead of the way that other chicken producers would do.
Interesting.
Some really interesting facts. So if that piques your interest at all, you might want to actually go online and look into Smart Chicken, because it would really wow you. It really kind of took me by surprise, because I hadn't even heard of it before I started at Tipsy Chicken.
Interesting. I haven't heard of that either.
All right, so what we're going to do next with the little hopper is we're going to give it a nice good mix here, and then we're going to strain it, because there are some things in there from that you could just get, like, some people don't like chunks in their stuff, you know, so it's kind of not the on it.
As long as it's not frog chunks, I'm good with chunks.
Right.
As long as I know it's just pulp, we're good.
So we're just going to strain this here.
What a pretty color. Is that not? It just reminds me of frogs. It smells really fresh.
When you're trying to strain things, you'll see that it's straining really lowly here. I have found that if you just kind of move it around, it'll strain a lot faster for you.
And mush.
So there we have it, and we just get rid of this. We don't do anything with this. And then we fill a glass with ice. And this is our rooster glass from Tipsy Chicken.
Cute. And do I get to sample that?
You sure do.
Yeah, me and my mama. We'll sample it after, mama. Okay, can I try it?
You sure can.
Okay, do I need to stir anything? You kind of mix it up before, right? Okay. Lemon first. I taste the lemon. Green apple. And the kale is super mild.
Yep. When I had it for the first time, I did the same thing she was doing. I was like, okay.
Super good. They get to sample this after the show?
Yes, they do.
This is great. And show us what you guys have over here. You were cooking fries over here.
Yep.
And that's, wow, that was fancy. All right, so we've got grilled chicken lettuce wraps. I'll stay on this side while let me know. Ooh, I just got an onion. That flavor is delicious. I like the crunch of the coleslaw. That is delicious, yummy. And I'll try a fry. Like some, This is my favorite part. You guys can just take a break. This is really good. I'm excited for you guys to try this. Well, thank you, chefs, so much for making this for us, and I hope you get a chance to check out Tipsy Chicken. They've got fabulous food, as you can see in samples shortly. And when we come back, we get to meet Susie Larson in the interview chair. So we will see you soon.
Welcome back. We are sitting here with Susie Larson. Let me tell you a little bit more about Susie. Susie Larson is a talk show host, national speaker, and author of 15, not countless, 15. I can count to 15, but after that it gets shoddy. Books and many articles. Susie has been married to her dear husband, the gentle giant Kevin, since 1985. And together they have 3 wonderful sons, 3 beautiful daughters-in-law, 1 adorable grandson, and a charming pit bull named Memphis. Susie's passion is to see people everywhere awakened to the value of their soul, the depth of God's love, and the height of their calling in Christ Jesus. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Susie.
Yeah, please help us welcome Susie Larson. Yeah.
Honored to be here. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
This has been such a fun book to read. We got to read Susie Larson's In Over Your Head, which is redone, correct? You wrote this a number of years ago, and then you redid it. And tell us about balance. It's called In Over Your Head, Creating Balance and Finding Peace in the Busy. So tell us about balance. What is balance?
Well, if you were to take 10 people out of the crowd today and line them up, balance would look different on each one of them because we're all in different seasons of life, and obedience looks different on each of us. So somebody might be just coming out of a storm, and for you, the call of God on your life would be to rest, to go into a season of rest. You know, somebody might be in the middle of the storm, and the call of God for you is to stand and fight and not give up. And so we really need to find the high ground, the place where God is speaking to us, the place of obedience. But what I learned as someone who has battled just sickness from Lyme disease, I was just deathly ill. And once I started to get my life back, I just wanted to seize every moment. And so I did everything that God asked me to, and then some. And it was the then some that about killed me. And you know, there's no anointing on your life to do the things God never asked you to do. And that's where you will grind your gears and wear yourself out. And I hit a pretty massive burnout, as so many people do, especially if you're a driver, if you're a type A. I mean, I just wanted to seize every moment. And I did, to the point that it just drove me into the ground. But what I learned in that place is that, you know, as someone who battled, I was a fitness instructor, I was in the fitness industry for 15 years, but in my sickness time, when I was at my sickest point with Lyme disease, I had a shunt in my arm, I had big, heavy IV bags hanging from our broken mini blinds, and I could only take a shower once a week because that was all I had strength for. And I knew enough, just knowing about the body, you know, there's a progress atrophy. It's use it or lose it, basically. And I just knew that though I couldn't do what I used to be able to run 6, 7, 8 miles without trouble. Here I'm, you know, in this place of showering once a week, but I thought I can find the high ground here. So I thought if I stop moving, I'm going to lose my mobility. So my high ground physically was to stretch my hamstrings and roll my feet and, you know, stretch my quads from my couch. I just thought I can't stop moving. I've got to keep my joints moving. And my doctor told me years later that of all of the patients he was caring for, there was 5 of us that were his absolute sickest patients. And 2 of the 5, myself and another, are the only ones who are functional and moving. The other 3 are either in a wheelchair, bedridden, or have a walker. And he says you were equally as sick. But the common denominator is you didn't stop moving. You did what you could do when you could do it. And so I say that, you know, balance can be this elusive thing. But I think if we can break free from the bondage of others' opinions, and be really content to be misunderstood, to say this is the season I'm in, and in that season there needs to be 3 components to your life, no matter what season: input, output, rest. So you have all of us take in, all of us put out, basically, and that's physically, spiritually, emotionally, and every other way. And then there needs to be recovery. So if you're in a season, let's say you've got a sick child or a sick spouse, or you're caregiving your aged parents or whatever that is, you've got massive output, you can't still be on 5 committees at church. You can't do it. You only go so far. So when you've got that kind of output, there's got to be room for input, for some soul nourishment, for some self-compassion, and you have to build and rest. It's not sustainable to have your foot on the gas all the time. So I just think it's an invitation to an ebb and flow, but to discern the season you're in and then figure out what that looks like. Because if you do that, you will come through that season without it killing you. It's possible.
Yeah, it seems like your situation was really intense and severe, but how do you know if you're not bedridden or only able to shower once a week? How do you know if you're out of balance? Because I have so often people tell me, well, I eat like crap and I don't exercise and I feel fine. I mean, how do we know if we're out of balance if we're not in that severe case?
Boy, that's a great question. You know, they say that your private choices eventually go public. You know, they either promote you or they expose you, so to speak. And I have a doctor friend. I've had a pretty massive health relapse a few years ago. I'm working my way out of it, so I'm under the care of a medical doctor and a functional med doctor. And the functional med doctor had a patient who was kind of like me with some chronic health issues, but very health-minded. And the husband was that way. He was like, I don't eat any, you know, I eat what I want, and I'm never in this doctor. I don't ever, you know, I have no problems. And he said, you don't have problems because you're not stressing your system. And he said she is stressing her system by exercising, and her system is challenged because of her sickness, but she's minding the check. So she's actually very healthy, healthier than most. And he said, but given the wrong set of circumstances, you could be in big trouble. And what happened was, I don't know if he was running through the rain, if he got out of his car and ran to the building or whatever, but he had a massive heart attack and died. And what a tragic story. But that's the thing, just because you're in a certain window of time saying my choices don't matter because I haven't paid a price up till now, that to me is delusion, because in due time those choices will be proven right or wrong. And one other story that I just think is fascinating, this doctor of mine said there was an 80-year-old couple who were eating like this, or eating well, who were exercising, who were reading, so they're exercising their mind, they're really stewarding their health. They were in a head-on collision. Because their bodies, they kept inflammation down because of the way that they lived, they literally walked away from that accident with very minor injuries. And there was a 40-year-old guy who was drinking big gulps, fast food all the time, and saying that kind of thing. I have no problem, right? And he was just rear-ended 5 miles an hour in his parking lot, and it shot his body into massive inflammatory response because he had all this invisible inflammation that he wasn't even aware of. And so I just think it's, you know, God has given us this temple, and we can spend all kinds of time. If we ignore our health, we'll be giving it more attention than we intend to when it starts to scream for our attention. So it's really worth it. And then you show up in life feeling so much better when you tend to the little things on a consistent basis.
Yeah, it seems like that's what we're hearing a lot as personal trainers, that people are saying, I got so sick, it threw me off terribly. So how would you begin to explain to someone what a lifestyle of nourishing your body and soul, everything there is to you, how would that look like?
Well, you know, I'm sure you would all answer this as better, if not as well as I would, or in the same way that I would. But there's such basic things that we can do that can make an absolute world of difference. You can't heal without rest. So I'm always talking about a consistent bedtime. I mean, always. Like, it's funny when my dear husband's family is over. They know they're just night people, and they say the long goodbye. You know, they're Swedish Norwegian, so it's like, no, really, goodbye this time. And they're still there holding their casserole in the entryway, you know, and love them to pieces. But they all know, they're like, good night, Suze, because my window just closes at about 9:15. That's just me. But the point being, everybody needs consistent bedtime. What if it's 11 to 7, 9 to 5? You got to find it, you got to guard it, you got to protect it. So rest is such a huge thing. You know, drinking a lot of water. I'm going to step on toes here, but cutting back on soda and sugar. Sugar is an inflammatory ingredient, and it will shoot your inflammation levels up. And when you have an inflammatory response in your body, that's the soil for disease to grow. And we'll all respond differently to inflammation, but it's not good for any of us. So I would say cut back on the sugar and the processed foods. And maybe smaller amounts would be good. Any kind of movement is great. They used to say, you know, long cardio, long stretches of strength work. Now they're saying these stints that you're talking about, these burst trainings, 1 minute fast, you know, walk fast for a minute and then slow down for 2 minutes. Do that 4 times. Amazing what that will do for your resting heart rate, your overall health. So get some movement, drink some water, change up your diet, you know, clean it up a little bit, get a good bedtime. And then I would say, remind yourself daily, I'm someone God loves. I'm someone that God has equipped. And give me a vision, God, for the purpose that you have. Because I just think too many people are living in reaction to their stuff and not in response to the promises of God. And I think He has more for us. So.
What about the person that kind of likes the idea of getting more healthy, but the idea also that they'll probably have to give up something, that God might even nudge them to give up something, that scares them?
do you have to say to those kind of people?
Well, I'm someone who has to watch my diet so carefully because of the stuff I've dealt with. So I'm no gluten, dairy, soy, or corn. So I always joke, pretty much take happiness out of the food, and that's my diet. You know? Although they've proven to us that we can eat lots of good foods. But I mean, my diet is very boiled down. But what I've learned is nothing tastes as good as feeling good feels.
Oh, yes.
You know, so
say that again.
Nothing tastes as good as feeling good feels.
Yes.
But I'd say start small. I think it's so critical to our own character development to say no to yourself and make yourself deal with it on many levels. To fast certain things, to even limit, you know, to say, you know, Wednesday nights I'm not doing social media, you know, or you know, I have a friend Monday through Friday. She's I have no sweets during the week. I'll have treats on the weekends, and that's her self-imposed fast. I just think it's great for our flesh, for our spirit, for our whole, you know, mental health to say no and make ourselves deal with it.
And do you think it's easier for some people to be naturally drawn toward balance, and it's harder for some people to go there, or do you think we all have a level playing field when it comes to fighting for achieving and getting into that place where we feel balanced?
Wow, that's another great question. I think some of us are wired. I'm very wired for discipline and focus, so easy for me to say, but nothing's been easy for me because every time I start to get my head above water, I get knocked back down again. So thank the Lord that He's wired me that way. But I have got friends who are breezy. They're just breezy. You know what I'm talking about? They're the best people to have at a party. They breeze in and they forget that it started an hour ago, but then they're the life of the party and I just love them, you know. And I've got friends like that that are just so wonderful, but balance for them would look different than it would for me, and obedience for them would look different. And I think they bring awe and wonder, you know, to everything that they enter into. But still, there is something to be said about some kind of discipline in your life. You can't really have any forward-moving progress. You can't really master anything without some kind of steady art of application where we apply ourselves to things. And so if you don't have that, if you're not wired that way, I would just ask God to help you and start making small decisions and do it when you feel like it and when you don't, because you can be someone who acquires that kind of mindset by practice.
Yeah, I feel like you give really good application in this book. You lay out the step-by-steps of how to get started, ideas of what to try, people to get involved with on your journey, and you just do a really nice job of making it really easy. Little steps in the right direction. And you give questions. It's not like you're telling people, just do this because this formula works. But you're instead asking them to go within and find their own formula, because there is just not a formula that's one size fits all that I found in my experience. And so I feel like you do a really good job of that in your book to draw that out of people and ask them to do their own self-discovery work so that it's lasting.
Yeah, there's a training principle. I've been out of the industry for a while, so I don't know if they've changed these, but progressive training principle is tiny baby steps. And I always say you can get your body to do anything if you ask it nicely and in small steps, right? Because our bodies are machines and they respond to our most consistent choices. So as you say, find your mode of exercise. Water aerobics, walking, cycling, group fitness, kickboxing, find it and then do it, you know, and your body will start to respond to that and it'll make it easier to do it next time.
And same thing with changing your palate too.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about the frog juice that we just had. I would never have 10 years ago drank vegetable juice like that. I mean, it had so much kale in it, those 3 giant leaves. But I feel like you can take small steps to change your palate too. So those people that we encounter that say I just don't like the healthy foods. I just don't like vegetables.
You can know? Change your palate, absolutely. Everything is an acquired taste. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
I love the story of your husband being the gentle giant and how that kind of correlates to God in your life. And not that your husband is God in your life, but how he is this comparable because you're much shorter. It's like Ashley and me. So I'm like God in Ashley's life. She doesn't
now she's putting words in my mouth.
She'd be too humble to say that, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on.
We're going to chat after the show, Christina.
Well, but there's also the correlation is that he is so much, everything he does is so much grander than you because you're petite and he's big. And so our perspective of God, when we sometimes think God is so tiny, we get reminders in life that there's really big people and they have big effects, and how that helps us envision what God is actually doing in our life more. And there's this one story that you tell of that you kind of kapow him when he shocks you, when he just wants to give you a hug from the back, and because of where you come from, that just scared you so much that there was this overreaction. But you were willing to look at it. You were willing to say this was an overreaction. And tell me more about, as you are on this journey, as we all are pursuing health, when you come to these moments of realizing I'm overreacting to something, and we would see it as, what, you're asking me to work out once a week, or you're asking me to give up my diet pop, what? So how did you, and what did you experience when you looked into the deeper underlying cause of those overreactions?
Wow, so that story, I've forgotten I told it in that book. I thought I told it in a couple other books too, but I experienced some trauma at the hands of some teenage boys when I was a young girl, and so I was in fight flight and have been off and on a lot of my life, and I'm someone who goes in a restaurant and I want to be with my back to the wall so I can see an exit, and I'm not near where I used to be, but I operated in a lot of fear. And so we had one child at that point, and he was probably 11 months old, and I decided to go to the grocery store at like 10 at night. So he was in bed, Kev was in bed, and I just thought I can just do this quickly on my own. And so I was putting groceries away, and the house was dark, and I did not hear my husband come up behind me, and big mistake, by the way. Anyway, he came up behind me to hug me, and I have to just kind of act out what I did. So he puts his hands around me, and I went boom, boom, like that, and Alrighty. Anyway, took him out. I mean, I knocked the wind right out of him, and he's like, and I'm like, oh, and I was, for the briefest moment, so impressed with myself. I'm like, look what I just. Anyway, I felt so bad, but I realized that maybe I had issues. So. Truly, though, I overreacted in fear because he came up and it startled me. But it really was one of those things that God brought to the surface, that there was a deeper thing that I'd already done some work around that, but I had more work to do. And when you think about if something gets triggered in you to the point where you have a reaction like that, I would just be kind to yourself, but ask God, show me what's going under the surface. Maybe you were rejected in high school. Maybe you dealt with something that made you feel less than. And so the thought of failure or not measuring up, especially with people who are already in the industry, makes you want to pull back. God can heal those places, because this is your journey, and it will be, when you are healthy, you'll be your best self and feel like you never imagined you could.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And we brought another book with us. Can we chat about your upcoming book, Susie?
Yes.
So this is Fully Alive. This is Learning to Flourish, Mind, Body, and Spirit. So this book is kind of extra special because it's not even out yet. This is brand new, piping hot. It's a little even warm still.
Off the press.
Off the press. She just got it yesterday. It just came in yesterday, and it is on pre-sale, right?
Right.
So it's not even in stores yet. And like I said, it's called Fully Alive. And so this is a book that you talk about that you never planned to write. So why did you write it?
Well, I battled as a young mom with Lyme disease, and then for the next 20 years, I did a lot of work around with my joint issues and their fatigue, and 2-3 times a year I'd have surges of symptoms, kind of flare-ups around the Lyme, and but I've always just found a way to get around it and to do what I need to do so I could do life. But 3 years ago, I was blindsided by a relapse that I thought was going to kill me, and it was like I say in the book and in the DVD, a walk through hell for me, and it kind of brought up old symptoms and then new symptoms. So old fears and new fears and anxieties. So one of my prominent symptoms in the early years was a numb face, and my short-term memory was wiped out, and I would have this crawling feeling in the back of my head, and it would come around in my face like I had a bloodsucker on my face. Well, I had that, and then my neck went numb, and every time I would drop my chin, I'd get esophageal spasms. So I was getting food stuck in my throat 4 times a day, and my arms went numb. And then I had what felt like a vice on my head. Honestly, the headaches felt like my skull was cracking. I can't explain to you how horrific the symptoms were, and then the fear and the anxiety that went with it. And one day I was in my bathroom getting ready for work, and the surges came, and anxiety and fear with it. And I thought, God, this is it for me. I'm going to die. I mean, the fear, I didn't know what was going to kill me, the symptoms or the fear. And the Lord whispered in my ears, I'm crying out to God, and I could hear the enemy like, this is it. I got you this time. And I hear the whisper in my ear, the storms reveal the lies we believe and the truths we need. And in the chaos of that bathroom with surging neurological symptoms, I'm like, the storms reveal the lies we believe and the truths we need. Well, what is the lie that I believe? Then I hear the rail in my ear. I can get to you anytime, anywhere, and God will never stop me. And I've had that subconscious core lie in me that I didn't realize was so embedded in my soul, but it surfaced in this storm. The storms reveal the lies we believe and the truths we need. And the Lord just whispered to my heart, you have wanted to outrun this lie, but we don't outrun lies, we turn around, we face them. And the reason I didn't want to get into this arena is because there's so much heat around the theology of healing and wholeness. When I was sick as a young mom, I had people say, well, if you had more faith, you wouldn't be going through this. And I just think that's one of the worst things you can say to someone who's sick. Our son had a severe back injury and had a medical miracle. He was miraculously healed after 6 months of barely being able to walk. He's a medical miracle. So for those who say miracles don't happen today, yes, they do. And they're happening all over the world. But I do struggle as someone who knows and loves people who battle chronic illness. You never want to say to someone, you know what your problem is. Because to me, it's like you're absolving yourself from responsibility of entering into their suffering. You're distancing yourself and saying, this is really on you, so I don't have to enter it. That's why I never wanted to write this book. But this book has become about inner healing. It's about traumas that we've walked through. It's about core beliefs. It's about fear, insecurity, the lies that really do hinder the healing process in our lives. So I will say it's the gutsiest, most raw book I've ever written. But I'm super grateful, and I'm proud of it in a good way. Do you know what I'm saying? I emptied my pockets for this book, but already we're hearing massive response from early readers who are just weeping through the chapters going, I had no idea that there were hindrances to my own healing in my own soul. And so I'm just going after those things so that, because I say what happens in our soul happens in ourselves. And you know, I'm someone who's in the fitness industry. I'm pretty physically disciplined and really committed health-wise. I'm a woman of the Word. I care deeply about the Word of God. I'm in it every day. And I'm someone who's battled with health issues. So to be in kind of those lanes, so to speak, and not have a suddenly healing. I've fasted. I've claimed the promises. It hasn't happened for me that way. It happened for my son that way. So for me to go after this with God, and I realized, even though I have my disciplines physically and spiritually, I had some losses in my soul that I had not sorted through. And Steve Arterburn is a counselor and he's a speaker, and I had him on my radio show one day, and he said one of the great epidemics of the American church today is unresolved grief. He said we have so many hurts, so many losses, and we do all these workarounds because we don't give ourselves time to sort through them. And a counselor friend, when I asked her about that, she said we are seeing countless women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s who have crazy anxiety, irrational fears, and wild symptoms. And she said what we're finding is it's exactly that. When they come in and give time and space to sort through the stuff that hurt them, the losses, the disappointments, and the love of God gets into those places, she said many of them, the symptoms just work their way out. I asked doctors, they've got doctors endorsing the book who said, exactly true. In fact, Scripture says a heart at peace is life to the body. Well, how many Christians are striving without a heart of peace, and they're, like I said, doing the workaround, where Jesus says, come on away with me. I want to bring healing to those places. I want to hear about your losses. I want to talk about your grief. And those things that were spoken over you, you push them down deeper. They need to come up, and we're going to replace them with the truth. And my desire for this book is clear the path of all the junk in your soul so that God can meet you and you can flourish in a way that you never thought possible.
What about the people that are saying, I think God has enough on his plate, he doesn't have time to hear about my stuff?
That's a great, great question. And you know, it's so interesting. In the Gospel of John, we hear about a man who's on his mat for 38 years, who'd been sick for a long time. And Jesus says, do you want to get well? And his first words were, I can't, sir. And the Lord kept bringing me back to that story again and again in the midst of all of this stuff. And I was actually hurt. I'm like, why do you keep bringing me back to this story, Lord? I drink 70 ounces of water a day. I have a good bedtime. I'm in the Word. I'm like, what do you mean? Why are you asking me this question? I mean, I really was like, well, I was hurt by it. But the Lord kept bringing me back, and he was silent. So I thought, well, he's God and I'm not, so I better ask a better question. I thought, Lord, what am I missing here? What are hindrances to what are my I can'ts? And about 2 weeks later, I was getting ready to go up to speak, but this is right in the throes of this stuff. So I was super dizzy. I had the pressure in my head. My vision was blurring. My arms were numb and my face was numb. And all I could think about was going to bed, but I had to get up and speak. So I'm backstage and I'm about to walk out to the stage, and the host grabs my arm. She goes, oh, before you go out there, make sure you tell them how much you struggle with your health. Otherwise, they're just going to hate you. And I'm like, and then I had this light bulb moment. I thought, I've heard that 1,000 times. I've heard that I'd hate you if you didn't struggle so. And the Lord whispered to my heart, just as I'm about to step out on stage, Can you trust me with your reputation? Can you trust me if I heal you? And by the way, not all women are that petty. And the ones who are hurting, right?
Yes.
So that 2 weeks later, I'm praying for the human trafficking victims, which I do every day, and for the millions and millions of slaves who are held in captivity. I'm interceding, which I do every day. And the phrase came across my mind, and this is what will answer your question, blessing guilt. And I'm like, blessing guilt? And the Lord whispered to my heart, can you handle it if I heal you with the millions of slaves who are in captivity today? And I said, no. I mean, it came out before I could think about it. And he said, why? Does what I do for you diminish my capacity to do for them? Well, I know that theologically up here. He's an inexhaustible God. He has inexhaustible supply. If he does something for you, it doesn't limit his ability to do something for Ashley. We know that, right? But I had a know in me. I had a core belief. And the Lord whispered again, do you trust me to heal you and to work out the stories of these dear women who are in captivity? And it took faith for me to go, yeah, but that was scary for me. And I say that to tell you that those are the kinds of things that sound noble, but they're unbelief.
Right.
They are. And that's where we have to get to the bottom of our I can'ts. Because I'm telling you, whenever we have these hindrances in our souls, it doesn't make us less of a Christian, but I do say that the message of God's love gets lost in translation through us because we're not believing in ourselves. Do we believe this stuff? I mean, do we believe it only for eternity, or do we believe it to be true right here, right now, right? Yeah.
Christina talks a lot about that, that God's kingdom is for now, and that we can...
Oh, don't get me started. By the way, I just wanted to point out what you already probably remember from signing up. $1 per ticket goes to IJM, which is the International Justice Mission that we're partnering with. They are fighting
human slavery and human trafficking.
We're associated with the organization as well, so love IJM.
We are sitting here with author and speaker and radio host Susie Larson, and she has just been telling us about 2 of her many books, In Over Your Head, and her newest book coming out very soon, Fully Alive. So if you haven't had a chance to pick these up and look at them, we encourage you to do so. Just a wealth of knowledge, and we just appreciate you so much, Susie. So thank you so much for sharing those.
Honored to be here.
Great. Thank you. We are going to take some questions now from our live studio audience here in Albertville. So if anyone has a question, we would love to hear it from you now. Any questions in the audience? Can be about health. Yes.
So Susie Larson has been around for not so long, because Briona is not that old. but when did you start your career? What prompted it?
Well, I would tell you in the middle of the first round of health issues, I was on the floor with my 3 little boys, and I had jeans with holes in them before that was a thing. So we had no money. We were dirt poor because of all the medical debt. Because I'm a dreamer, I have a lot of vision, but at that point, my short-term memory was wiped out. So I had no more vision except I'd hoped to live long enough to raise my kids. So I was going through my days very weak, very tired, and I was sitting on the floor with my 3 little guys, just getting through the moments and not feeling well. I mean, my strength was very low, and a woman from my church called, and she said, I've been hearing the chatter about everything you're going through, and she said, and I wanted to know, because with Lyme disease, it's tricky. I hadn't had a diagnosis yet, and it looks like a lot of other things. So she said that, some were saying this must have been in my head, and others were feeling so sad and sorry for me. So she wanted to hear from God himself what he was up to in my life. And she said, so I brought your case before the courts of heaven. And I was just sitting up listening. She said, you listen to me. She said, the Lord showed me a platform that he's building with your pains that you'll speak from someday. So lean in and learn everything that you can, because you'll have a story to tell. And I really had no vision for my life at that point. But when she said that, it was like a truth bomb. I knew it was true. And I actually got worse before I got better. But that's when the Lord whispered in my heart, are you a believer just because you've secured eternity? Or are you a believer because you actually believe this stuff? And I started to shift my weight onto the promises, even when they didn't feel true. And one of the things that, as I mentioned, the facial numbing was so horrific that doctors kept telling me, don't be surprised if you wake up and your face is droopy, like with Bell's palsy. And that's hard to take as a 20-something with 3 little kids. So every morning I'd look in the mirror, is this the day my face falls? And I was so glad to see that it was symmetrical each day. And after that call, though, I would get up in the morning, and I put my face on my hand, or my hand on my face, and I'd look in the mirror and go, "You will not die but live and declare the works of the Lord." And I would hold up my empty checkbook and say, "My God will supply my needs." And the enemy would attack me relentlessly about the kind of mom I was, because I love my kids. I told them all about Jesus, but I wasn't able to get them involved in 5 different things like a lot of moms are. I felt so pathetic. But when that word came to me that day, I thought, "You will be mighty in God, in spite of me if need be, but you will be." God has heard my prayers. But I truly did start to just speak the word over my life. And I would say in a few months after that, a mom's group called and said, "Would you come and share how you're keeping the faith?" I didn't look at that as a speaking thing. I seriously still had such brain issues, numbing issues, fatigue. But I thought, I have more questions than answers right now, but I'll share what I know. And I sat on a chair and I shared what I knew. And they told 2 friends, and it just sort of evolved out of the ashes. And I started to speak, but I'm a big journaler, and I had a secret desire to write. And so I went to a writers' conference and started to write for Focus on the Family, and eventually got published, and that's kind of how it evolved. But it really was, again, if I wouldn't have gone through what I did, I probably would have had all these ideals of things I wanted to accomplish. And I don't know if you've ever heard the analogy, when you have a sheep that wanders, and it wanders to the point where it breaks its legs, the shepherd will put it around its neck and carry it close. It's a wandering sheep, so it gets itself into trouble. But with a broken leg, it'll carry it around its neck because it needs to heal. And what happens to that wandering sheep is that its heart starts to beat in rhythm with the shepherd, and it develops this zero tolerance or low tolerance of capacity to be away from the shepherd. I think my driving and striving could have driven me into a lot of Christian activity, but that's a wandering of its own. And I think with being broken the way I was and having to cling so tightly to the vine, it was never a career for me. It really was coming out of the ashes of pain and hardship and dependence. And I'm so grateful for what God has allowed me to do, but I remember the hardship like it was right here. Yeah. And I'm fresh off the battlefield with this recent health issue. So super grateful for the things that he's allowed me to do. But what he reminds me again and again is, you're not what you do, you're someone God loves. And that's the truth.
Yeah, thank you. And we are out of time for questions, but if you would share one thing with our audience and Facebook Live, just kind of an encouragement that you have on your heart, just go ahead and close out with something that you want to share with our audience today, either about the subject matter we've been talking about or something else.
Well, what the heartbeat behind Fully Alive is, what I want to say to you is, I believe we're coming into a day that Christians, we need to contend for the promises of God, because I think we're coming into a storm. And I think we've been able to live just in constant reaction to our stuff, but I think we must not anymore. I think we need to go after the healing that we need, whether it's emotional healing, relational healing, physical healing. And I think as God starts to download truth, as we start to contend and be honest about our own needs, we'll be in a position to contend for the freedoms and the healing of others. And when we start to shine brightly, because God has done a miracle in our lives, in this dark world, people who don't know the Lord are going to come to you and go, "Tell me your secret. What do you know?" And you'll have something to impart. And I'm just convinced, and one of the things that gets me out of bed every day is that there are many Christians who are saved, but they're not free. And I just said, let's not accept that anymore. I mean, be honest and humble enough to say, I have my own needs, but God, I want healing. I'm not going to let you go till you bless me. I want wholeness, and then I want to impart that same kind of freedom and wholeness to everybody I meet.
Yeah. Hey, we're all about freedom.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was our show. That was our show. What'd you think? Christina,
Yes.
what is one thing that you took
man.
away from the show today?
Well, I was already reading the book a lot, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't even know where to begin to start. What I take away from meeting you as a speaker and as an author, the thing I learned from the kitchen today is that she said that she allows people to give her negative feedback.
Yes.
And that's kind of a personal thing for me, where I said to my husband he has to stop doing that. So now he just tells me it's the best meal I ever had. And so I'm not growing as a chef, unfortunately, but I'm comfortable.
So you need to tell, if you're open to it, tell him you're open to all kind of feedback, like Brandy shared with us.
I feel it's gonna break me though. So.
Well, then just take it for now.
Yes.
It's okay if he lies to you right
baby
now.
steps.
Okay.
Yes. For now, it's lies.
Okay, good. That's interesting. Well, I think one thing that struck me was when you said, in order to walk through our own journey, we have to be okay getting rid of the voices that are the should do's and should be and the ought to's and the, we have to get rid of all those expectations that other people put on us, or even that we put on ourselves in a really unhealthy way, so that we can walk through our own journey. Because I think that can hold us back. And that just resonated with me personally and struck me. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we have our 1-year anniversary show coming up in November. We hope you had a wonderful show. We hope you enjoyed. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.